The party was in my apartment, but the spectacle was my life. Genevieve stumbled out of the master bathroom wrapped in nothing but a damp towel and the arms of her ex-boyfriend Ronan. Her hair was slicked back, her skin glistening under the living room lights. The towel, precariously clutched at her chest, did little to hide the curves I had known intimately for 7 years. Everyone froze. The music, the chatter, the laughter. It all died, sucked into a sudden vacuum. 50 pairs of eyes darted from them. To me, I could feel the weight of their gazes, pity, mockery, and a morbid, gleeful curiosity. Genevieve's arms were draped around Ronan's neck. She was looking right at me, her expression not one of guilt or panic, but of defiant challenge. Ronan, smug bastard that he was, shot me a grin. Hey Art, Jen took a little spill in the shower, figured I should help her out since no one else could. I glanced at the women in the room, at Genevieve's supposed best friends. I failed to see why a man was more convenient in this situation. Arthur, don't you dare overthink this, Genevieve snapped, her voice sharp. They're not as strong as Ronan. Ronan's grin widened. Besides, he added, his voice a low, suggestive rumble, I've had plenty of practice carrying her. I know just how to hold her to make her comfortable. He might as well have been talking about something else entirely. I felt a strange calm wash over me. There was no fire in my chest, no familiar knot of jealousy tightening in my stomach, just a profound unnerving silence where the storm used to be. The frantic beat of my heart had finally, after 7 years, gone quiet. I wanted to congratulate them, I truly did. Instead, I set down the case of beer I'd just brought up and walked past them. I opened our bedroom door and gestured inside. There's a crowd out here, I said, my voice unnervingly steady. You'll have more privacy in the bedroom. Condoms are in the top left drawer of the nightstand. You know she's not on the pill right now, Ronan. A collective gasp rippled through the room. They all thought I was losing my mind, throwing a tantrum. The looks of pity morphed into contempt. Genevieve's brow furrowed in anger. Arthur, are you going to keep this up? I've told you 1,000 times, Ronan and I are just friends. We broke up years ago. She shifted her gaze, playing to the audience. My boyfriend is supposed to be grateful that his friend was there to help me when I fell. Shouldn't you be thanking him? Ronan puffed out his chest. No need to thank me, Art. It was my pleasure. The logic was so twisted it was almost impressive. My girlfriend falls in the shower. Her ex carries her out nearly naked, and I'm supposed to be grateful. I wondered how many of my old classmates would feel the same if it were their partners. The old me would have screamed. I would have thrown Ronan out. The party would have ended in a shouting match, and Genevieve would have unleashed her signature move. She'd accuse me of not trusting her, of embarrassing her, of ruining everyone's night. Then would come the destruction, smashed plates, broken picture frames, followed by the icy cold war. She'd make a point of hanging out with Ronan every day, making sure I knew. It would continue until I couldn't take it anymore, until I was on my knees, literally begging for her forgiveness, which she would grant only when she was good and ready. Our relationship, I realized, had been a masterclass in unequal power dynamics from the start. In college, she was the untouchable campus queen, the girl everyone orbited. I was just a bookworm, the quiet nerd people either ignored or bullied. I was in a dark place back then, spending too much time on the rooftop, contemplating a permanent solution to temporary problems. She found me there one afternoon. She sat beside me as the sun set, the golden light catching in her hair. The view from up here is for seeing how beautiful the world is, not for leaving it. She'd said, stop thinking about jumping, Arthur, I'll watch the scenery with you. In that moment, she wasn't just a girl, she was my salvation. When we got together, no one could believe it. They all said I didn't deserve her. Her legion of admirers never thinned. The fear of losing her became the engine of my life. I did everything, gave everything, just to prove my worth, to feel her attention on me for a fleeting second. I shared my every thought, every success, every fear with her. In return, I got one-word answers, or just ellipses. I learned to live on crumbs. She learned to despise the baker. Arthur, are you deaf? Genevieve's voice jolted me back to the present. She was still in Ronan's arms, still acting like the wronged party. I looked at her, my eyes clear of the fog of devotion for the first time. If my being here is making you uncomfortable, I said, my tone flat, I can leave. You're going to ruin the party, she demanded, her eyes flashing. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about the party. Fine, I said, turning away. Then I'll stay. I settled onto the couch and pulled out my tablet, opening the case file I was working on, and then Genevieve and Ronan actually walked into my bedroom. Our bedroom. The door clicked shut. Every head in the room swiveled back to me. The contempt was back, thicker this time, layered with a sick sort of amusement. I offered them a thin smile. Should I go out and buy a green hat, just to satisfy your morbid curiosity? The bedroom door flew open again. Ronan stalked out, his face a thundercloud, but when he saw me, his expression shifted into that familiar, goading smirk. Jen is being too modest. I was just offering to help her change. Persistence is key, man, I said, nodding encouragingly. You've got to be relentless. I could see it so clearly now. His goal wasn't just to get with Genevieve, it was to break me. He needed to provoke a reaction, to make me fly into a rage so he could play the victim to her, and every single time before I had fallen for it. But suddenly, the complex legal arguments on my tablet seemed infinitely more interesting than this tired, juvenile drama, not getting the rise out of me he wanted. Ronan tried another angle. You know, he said loudly, it's amazing. After all these years, Jen's body is still as perfect as it was in college. If you're that nostalgic, I replied without looking up from my screen, feel free to go back in and reminisce. He just stood there, speechless. If Genevieve had been receptive, he wouldn't have come out looking so pissed. He'd been kicked out, and it stung. A few minutes later, Genevieve emerged. She was wearing a little white sundress, her face scrubbed clean of makeup, yet she was still devastatingly beautiful. She glared at me, and at my tablet. If you're so busy, why don't you go to the study? Good idea, I said, standing up. I started walking toward the study. Arthur, what is your problem? She finally exploded, her voice a raw shriek. I paused at the study door, turning to face her. My own emotional state was so stable it was almost alien. I knew she could see it. She knew what I looked like when I was angry, and this wasn't it. And for a split second, I saw something new in her eyes, something I'd never seen before. Fear. You're the one who told me to go to the study, I stated calmly. Well, now I'm telling you to stay, she commanded, pointing to a chair at the dining table. You're going to sit down and drink with us. She plopped herself down. Her best friend, Sienna, was on her right. The seat she pointed to was on her left. Ronan immediately piped up. If he sits there, where do I sit? Genevieve hesitated. She looked at me, then at Ronan. For the first time, she was actually hesitating. Before, there would have been no question. Ronan would have been by her side, and I would have been on the periphery like a court jester. But now, she was torn. Ronan is a guest, I said with a smile, breaking the tension. He can sit wherever he wants. I then took a random seat at the far end of the table. The party resumed. Drinking games. Someone suggested passing a playing card from mouth to mouth, of course. When it was Ronan's turn to pass it to Genevieve, he accidentally dropped the card. His lips pressed against hers. It was a brief, calculated touch, but it was enough. He pulled back and shot me a triumphant look. Genevieve's face was pale as she stared at me, waiting for the explosion. This was it, the ultimate public humiliation, the final proof of my cuckoldry. So why did I feel nothing? Oh, that's why. I didn't love her anymore, but my lack of reaction was in itself a reaction. It was interpreted as me being petty and sullen. Sitting next to me was Sienna Gable, Genevieve's closest confidant and the chief architect of many of our past fights. She was a vixen, even more overtly glamorous than Genevieve, and she had some kind of history with Ronan. She'd been the one championing his return into our lives. You know, Arthur, she began, her voice dripping with condescension, you've always been so possessive. You haven't grown at all. Jen and Ronan are friends. A little peck isn't going to get her pregnant. It's nothing. If it were me, she continued, her lecture in full swing, I wouldn't care about something so trivial. It was the same old script. Whenever Genevieve and I fought, her squad would descend like a pack of wolves to gaslight and manipulate me into submission. Sienna, I interrupted her. Are we friends? She blinked, caught off guard. Of course we are. We've known each other for years. We're good friends. Oh, I said. I leaned in, cupped the back of her head with my left hand, and pulled her toward me. I kissed her. It wasn't a peck. Ronan and Genevieve's accident was a fleeting touch. This was deliberate. I held the kiss for a few seconds, even bit her lower lip gently before pulling away. She pushed me back, her face flushed, her eyes wide with disbelief. The room fell silent once again. No one, least of all me, had expected the quiet, reliable doormat to do something like this. Arthur, are you insane? Sienna stammered. I smiled at her. We're friends. Good friends, you said. A little kiss isn't going to get you pregnant. I thought you didn't care about things like this. She was speechless. Asterisk crack. Asterisk a sharp pain exploded on